I'll remember Imran, I don't know about the spectators, I'll remember him turning at the end of his mark and coming in with that last lovely leap so that the batsman knows that the ball is going to be on its way, but he doesn't know if it's going to be the away swinger or the in-shoot.
He doesn't suffer fools gladly. He's the type of guy that I suppose if you're doing a job, you must do it properly.
He had that bearing on the field, you know, which was very aristocratic and which made him look like a born leader.
He was, one could almost say, the best fast bowler in the world.
You have one hell of a cricketer.
I think I've always bowled a thing to myself, and I mean, his early days would be the quickest of that.
He's one of the greatest, you know, that I've ever faced.
As a test cricketer, you are tested in intelligence, in courage, and in skill. And Imran passes with flying colours in all three grades.
From then onwards, my development in cricket started. I had two older cousins, both went on to captain Pakistan. There were a host of other cousins who were either representing Lahore, first-class teams. There were at least 8 first-class cricketers in Zaman Park at the time I was growing up. We have a round park in the middle of this locality, and everything was done there. There were all sorts of ages, cousins who were in the late 20s to boys barely 6 or 7 years old. So all of us used to get together, and sporting activities used to take place.
If Imran was not playing cricket, he was either chasing kites on the streets, or he was going after all the crows in the neighborhood with his air gun. He always told us, his younger sisters, that he was a tiger because he caught kites rather than buying them. Of course, it was because my mother never gave him the money to buy the kites. But it impressed us a lot because he used to have this big pile of kites that was quite an honor, because it's a very difficult task running after them. Most probably that's what developed his physique.
More for experience than to actually play him in a test match. But circumstances forced Imran to play in the test matches.
They're looking for a single off the last ball. If it hits the wicket, it's close and he's out. So Imran run out there. Young Imran came in at a difficult time in his first test, obviously looking for runs. He made 5 and he made them quite well.
I never forget on my test debut, just before the morning of the match, and I was asking Majid's advice. I said, how do I improve? And I'm having a bit of trouble with my run-up. What do I do? And he then said, why don't you mark your run-up? And he got the shock of his life when he realized that I never marked my run-up by measuring steps. I used to just go a certain distance, look back and feel that's enough and put a mark there, and then just go and bowl. So it was a real shock to him, and he turned around and said, look, let's just wait till the end of the match and then we'll work out your run-up.
He was very much the baby in the side, wasn't he? He was, when he played at Edgbaston, the unknown quantity, if you like, and he was the the sort of player that everybody was looking to say, well, why have they brought Imran Khan? What's he going to do? And when he came on to bowl and his first over, everybody must have thought, well, they haven't got it right.
I was quite disappointed after the first test match because, you know, I didn't get a wicket. Secondly, it was really the reaction of the team towards me. I mean, not the whole team, but some of the players were openly accusing me of having got into the team because of nepotism. They felt my family was strong, and that's how I managed to make my way into the team. And that really, that hurt a lot.
There was a genuine feeling among us, the members, as well as those who saw Imran, that he is more sort of a guy who has been fitted into making numbers rather than actually contributing anything.
On my first tour, I had problems with certain teammates. Firstly, because they expected that I was an 18-year-old and I should do things which I suppose an 18-year-old is supposed to do. But I mean, when someone told me, make me a cup of tea, you know, for me, it was unthinkable. I couldn't believe that someone was ordering me to make tea. So I would react to that, and I'd said, get lost. England in 1971 was a fascinating place for me. I was so mesmerized by whatever I saw. I mean, this is bearing in mind I'd never been out of Pakistan, hardly even been out of Lahore. So for me, and you know, I had so much curiosity in me. I mean, it was like exploring everything, and even the shops were, you know, one was fascinated by them. There was so much to see. I mean, I remember I just couldn't rest. I mean, it was a question of going to bed. I felt it was wasting my time. I had to explore and see what it was like. It was a fascinating experience. Oxford was, again, the perfect place to do both, play cricket and study. There I'm very fortunate. I could have gone to a university where there was no cricket, and I don't know, maybe I would not have been able to develop my cricketing career, or I could have stayed back in Pakistan in maybe in government college and played cricket and not been able to study. And in my second year at Oxford, when I became the captain, it was the only time in my cricketing career I captained a team except Pakistan.
My first impression of Imran when he first came to Worcester was that he was obviously a boy with a lot of talent, but there was obviously a lot of work to do and a lot of development to do in his cricket, especially his bowling. He was sort of ball wide of the crease and a big sort of in-swing bowler, so he had a lot of work to do with that. But I think in those days, I remember Imran probably more of a batsman than he was as a bowler.
There it is, a good hand for Imran Khan. And making the 1 into 2 there. So Imran going to 51, exhilarating performance from the Pakistani Test cricketer. Khan to beat it. All over the place. Not surprisingly, seemed very, very doubtful what was going to happen to that ball when it pitched. Came through at a fairly normal height, and Imran Khan has made the breakthrough. And that's it. Desperate effort to plonk another this time over the tavern boundary. Sees the end of Ian Belford.
A lot of cricketers simply walk into the dressing room, play their cricket and go home, and there's no sort of desire to sort of expand one's horizons. But I thought that Imran was pretty special in so much as he had a view on more than just cricket, on all sorts of aspects of life. And certainly at Sussex, where we'd had chaps in the past like Tiger Pasordi and Dexter and exciting characters like that, it was good to have Imran with us as well.
I think that the first 2 years or 3 years of county cricket can be extremely useful for anyone. I mean, anyone from outside England who wants to develop his game, there you get the perfect cricket education. But after the 2 or 3 years, I actually think that it starts doing you damage, because it's just not possible to maintain your enthusiasm for the game playing 7 days a week. It's just not possible. I mean, if it becomes a job, if cricket becomes a job, then what suffers is your enthusiasm. And I feel that enthusiasm is the most important thing for the game, because that's what gives you the competitiveness. For instance, in Australia, they don't play as much cricket, but whatever cricket they play, it is played with so much enthusiasm and competitiveness that in just 1/3 or 1/4 of the cricket which is played in Australia compared to England in one season, they produce better players. Physical training for me in the beginning was something that I had to do. I mean, I always, when I was at Aitchison, I was used to playing sport every day because it was compulsory sports in Aitchison. I mean, apart from the fact that it was compulsory, I loved sport. I would play in Aitchison, and then I would come back and play in Zaman Park until it was dark. And then at times I would come back home and play some sort of sport indoors. My greatest regret was not having brothers.
In the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of summer in Pakistan, it is very hot and nobody was willing to come out of their homes. So he'd come to my younger sister and myself and say, could you bowl to me? Because he was doing his batting practice. It's not that he played with us. We never got a chance to bat. We were only supposed to stand there for 1 hour or 2 hours bowling to him.
There were times when I first started jogging in Aitchison, people would stop and look. People would, and they'd say things like, are you mad? Who's this mad man running? And all that sort of thing. But it was that training that helped me in my bowling.
And that's out, caught behind the partnership for Elton, and at last Imran has got a wicket, and they're all rushing up to congratulate him. Well, a good wicket indeed, too, that of Tony Gregg. Caught behind by Wasim Barry. So the first wicket in Test match cricket for Imran Khan.
It was in 1976 for the first time I realized that I could become a genuine fast bowler. Until then, Worcester used to discourage me from bowling fast. They always insisted that I should bowl line and length. They felt that I had more potential as a medium pacer.
I don't think he honestly knew himself quite what potential he had. And in his probably last season with Worcester was the season that he was just starting to believe that he could bowl far and above medium pace.
The problem was that my temperament was that of a fast bowler. I could not take getting trashed. Whenever a batsman hit me, there's a certain sort of anger used to rise within me, a desire to avenge the insult. And it was from that reason the pace would come. When I moved to Sussex, the greatest advantage I had there was that John Snow was there.
We were playing somewhere up country, I think, and
Majid Khan came up to me and said, do you notice the way that Imran runs to the boundary? He runs differently to the way he runs up to bowl. And I said, yeah, that's true. And why do you think that was? And considering it a bit, it looked as though it was obvious that when he put his marker down, he put it down about 10 paces behind the wicket or something, and then disappeared another 30 paces, and then tried to hit the marker on his run in. And of course, running from that distance, he couldn't do it, and therefore his run up was very broken. And he only really improved, and there was a dramatic improvement once he got that sorted out.
Khan. And he's gone. Beautifully bowled.
Like all great fast bowlers, Imran, every time you saw him, each tour that you saw him, he had something different in his armoury. He'd learnt a new delivery, and that's a sign of a fine fast bowler. Every time you play against them, he comes up with something new. The other thing that I knew about Imran from playing against him was that he had terrific fighting spirit. I remember playing against him at VFL Park in Melbourne, one of the early games under lights, and Imran came in and he bowled me a bouncer, and I pulled it away for 4. And as I ran down, I said to him, that's what happens to short-pitched rubbish. And Imran just turned and he looked at me and he said, we'll see about that. And he went back, and the next one went flying straight past my ear.
Well, that was a pretty useful shot to deliver it.
The thing that's been most impressive about him in the years I've watched him is that in-shoot he's developed. And he can do it with the old ball as well. It's a matter of keeping the seam in the right position so that it doesn't scramble on the way down the pitch towards the batsman, and that the air can work on the side of the ball. And he keeps that seam perfectly aligned all the time.
And I'll definitely give credit to Imran that he's the one who taught myself, Fakar Yunus and Akib Javed how to swing the ball.
There have been innuendos that the Pakistani pace bowlers have been doctoring the ball or cheating. In fact, Pakistani bowlers have to learn to swing the ball, otherwise they cannot survive in cricket. In Pakistan, the ball gets struck very quickly, and as a result, we learn very early in our careers to swing the old ball.
Moody gets an edge, and that's the first wicket down. That's what Pakistan needed.
There's got to be more skill than just scratching the ball or spitting on it or putting sweat on it. There must be something in the wrist, and I just think that they've got great skill, wonderful skill to swing the ball at pace.
The two outstanding batsmen of my career were Vivian Richards and Sunil Gavaskar. Vivian Richards because I felt he was by far the most talented batsman I'd ever bowled to. He was exceptionally gifted. He had the best reflexes and the most formidable batsman, the most aggressive batsman.
We had a series where at one stage we kept staring at each other, and maybe I knew at the time, that he was an individual, who had a lot of confidence in himself. And I was also possessing the same sort of thing, and I thought at that stage I would give it a draw, and that's one of the best incidents that I can remember, that we just kept staring at each other, like basically two fighters, who would be placed in a particular ring. And the only thing, that was missing at that particular time was the punches.
And Sunil Gavaskar, his greatness was the best defense. Excellent management of his innings. You could see he is and certainly as a batsman, was an exceptionally intelligent man who organized his innings all the time, who read the wickets, the conditions, the bowlers, and really in their own ways both were brilliant.
I realized it was my job to see him off because he was the most dangerous bowler from, as far as we were concerned, from the opposition. And it was therefore my job to wear him out. I wasn't an attacking batsman. I was mainly a person who could wear, in test matches, a bowler down. So it was my job. And I knew that it was his job to try and get me out because I believe that the Pakistan team perceived me as a stumbling block to their aspirations of running through the side.
One's got to look, you know, at Imran's record. And obviously, the wickets, obviously, that he's played on throughout his career in Pakistan. And any man who've got to work so hard, most certainly, in my mind, would be top of the tree.
Safely away for 4. That's a splendid 100. A great innings by Ian Botham. OBW, and will that be a wicket for Richard Hadley with his last ball in Test cricket? Gomes and Richards have to bowl out 12 overs between them. Having said that, he's just given away 4 runs.
3 now, England. And his bowling. Botham's gone. Beaten there with a fine delivery. A little bit of extra pace too. Seems to have been beaten by the pace.
The world has been lucky in recent years to have some very special characters around. I suppose if it came down to picking one, and they were both at their, they were all at their best. I mean, if you had Dev at his best, and you had Richard Hadley at his best, you had Imran at his best, and you had Botham at his best, it would get down, for me, to be a question of whether we had Botham or Imran. So that's how highly I regard him. At his best, he might just nudge the rest out.
Well, it's 4 runs.
Michael holding. और इमरान ने इस दफा फिर बहुत खूबसूरत शॉट लगाया है और ये 6.
Embry now taking over at the pavilion end.
Well, that's a big one, is that? And that's not what he's been doing earlier. That's a massive 6 for Imran Khan.
I think that Richard Hadley's probably a slightly better bowler. Ian Botham has a better record as a batsman and making centuries. But I think if it got really hard as a bowler, I think that Imran is the man that I would like out there because he would still be trying to bounce the batsman out even if the wicket's really flat. A lot like Dennis Lillee. Richard Hadley, I feel, he gets a bit mechanical at times. He sort of says, oh, well, this wicket's pretty flat. I'm not going to try any bounces, so I'm just going to try line and length. Imran has that spirit, as I say, much like Dennis Lillee, where he'd be saying, well, to hell with that. I'm going to try and knock this bloke's block off, or I'm going to try and get him ducking and diving. I'm going to try and make something happen. And as a batsman, as I mentioned, I think he's the sort of fellow that if the team is really in trouble, as they were in Adelaide, he came up with a century.
Pakistan, unbelievably, 3 for 7. Imran Khan, the skipper, has decided that he's the one to come out and sort all this out.
Drive, that's down the ground, that's knocked away by Keble. They're going through to the single, that's 100 for Imran. Well played, a superb captain's knock.
my winter 2 months, all the Sundays, because Sunday was a holiday, were spent chasing kites. And really, I can't tell you how obsessed I was. And my nephews now are obsessed with the same sport. And even now I enjoy whenever, you know, the Basant festival comes. I love going over there in the old city and the flying kites. Taste in music has changed over the years. I mean, it never was either pop music or Indian. It was always everything included in it. But at the moment, my great passion is Mr. Fateh Ali Khan. The 3 books I've written so far, 2 on cricket, which I found very easy to write because cricket is my subject. I write articles in newspapers. I don't find it at all hard writing on cricket. But the 3rd book was on a trip I did, which is basically a book on Pakistan. And the reason I did it was not because of any other reason, but simply because there are no books on Pakistan. I mean, there are friends who used to want to come to Pakistan, always complained there wasn't hardly ever anything to read of the country. But currently, I'm doing a book on the tribal area in Pakistan, and the reason for the book was because I just happened to go there, to Waziristan, where originally my mother's family comes from. And I just went there to have a look, and I was so fascinated by what I saw that I decided that I must write on it. And I've been working on that book, which should come out soon.
The big thing about him, his captaincy, is that he's actually part of the team, but at the same time he keeps himself distant from it. He's able to make the right moves and have the authority, and that is a very, very big thing.
Over the years, the Pakistan players were, you know, very good individual cricketers, but I don't think they played as well as a team. They had some magnificent cricketers during my time, but they always seemed to sort of capitulate whenever there was some sort of pressure. But when Imran took over the team, you know, he got them to be, you know, a more professional unit.
I think one of the greatest qualities any captain must have is that he must lead by example. I mean, no captain should ever expect a team to do what he cannot do. I mean, I know captains who make speeches. I played in county cricket where a captain stands and gives a speech saying how all the chaps should fight and all this. But it doesn't work. The watershed of my batting career was in 1982 when I became the captain, because I realized in order to tell the other batsmen not to play careless shots, I first had to lead them by example.
Century it is. Imran Khan stood fast when the others were collapsing. Went through some very frustrating moments, but there's a half century for him.
When we went to India in 1987, I think no one expected us to win because India had an outstanding batting lineup, and they had these spinners who had the reputation to bowl well on spinning wickets, and they produced spinning wickets against us. But we had a team which fought all the way. It was a young team, but they really did fight on spinning wickets with their batting lineup, which was much superior to ours. To have won the series I think, gave me the greatest satisfaction. And really the welcome at Lahore bore testimony to it, that the people here also felt that, we had done a great job. The team spirit from India carried on to England. When we got to England in '87, England were on a high. They had just won the Ashes. Gatting was the captain. They had an excellent team. For a long time, they hadn't had a team as strong. Their confidence was up. And really, in the first test, we struggled against them. But it was at the Leeds test match that we really turned the tables. And really, for me, that again was a great match.
And he's gone. Trying to leave the ball, taken by Salim Malik at first slip. England in trouble again, 9 for 2.
David Gower dragging that back on. Short of a length, just outside off stump.
Imran into Jack Richards.
Oh, that's out. That's a fine catch. Imran swinging the ball in, just make it bounce a little, going off the shoulder of the bat. Pretty quick then. He does it short leg there, and a very good catch.
Imran Khan takes his 300th test wicket. Is Imran to do?
Well, that's it. Imran bowling, Graham Bailey with a full length delivery there, and 7 wickets remaining for Imran Khan.
And having won that test match, we hung on, and really we became, by the end of the summer, a much better team than England.
The gentleman who has made an outstanding contribution with his batting performances, particularly a match-saving one at Aitchison, high quality and consistent bowling performances, but particularly outstanding leadership, Imran Khan.
Strangely, when we got to England, I could not understand why the British media treated the Pakistani team the way it did. I mean, personally, they treated me very well. But for some reason, whatever the Pakistan team did was interpreted as cheating, or it was as if we were trying to get some unfair advantage. I mean, in one case, 2 of our players had to go off because they were injured. And the press next day, I mean, one of the tabloids published a headline that Pakistani cheats, meaning that we were trying to substitute 2 poor fielders with 2 good ones. I mean, this attitude kept going throughout the summer. They put an umpire in one of the test matches who was clearly a controversial umpire. We had objected against him on the previous 2 tours, and yet he was thrust upon us for not 1 test, but 2 test matches. And really, it was, from that point of view, it was an ugly series, because the press was just waiting for us to make a mistake. They would jump on us. Our manager did not want to take it lying down, so he then attacked them openly. There was complete aggression from his side. And really, what happened in Pakistan in the subsequent series, where the Gatting run affair took place, that was a direct result of the attitude of the TCCB in England regarding this particular umpire.
I think this can easily be avoided.
To avoid indiscipline on the cricket field, the only alternative the ICC has is to appoint neutral umpires. At the moment, they have tried to appoint referees, they have tried to impose code of conduct, but all this is not going to get anywhere. All test captains I've spoken to most of the cricketers, they all agree that the only way forward in cricket, like other sports, is to have neutral umpires.
Really, Javed Meander, the simplest thing he can do is get hold of his players and get them away from the action and get play restarted.
When I went to England in 1971, the Pakistani community in particular, I found them very subservient. I found them apologetic, almost embarrassed to be in England, but you know, they had to be to make some money. They felt that you know, they had to make excuses all the time for being there. You know, everything, whenever they met an Englishman, it was with a huge inferiority complex. In sharp contrast to what the Pakistan community is like there right now in Britain. At this moment, I have no designs at all to enter politics. I feel that I could achieve much more for Pakistan as I am, rather than once I become a politician, become controversial. Probably I will have my hands tied. I won't be able to do anything. I think I would be able to do much more outside politics. Also, I feel that people have different roles in life. Not everyone should become a prime minister and then he can do something for the society. I think in our own capacity, all of us can do a lot for the society.
My mother was also very keen to see Imran married, settle down and have children. And at one point she nearly convinced him. She told him she'd found a girl for him and that she was not going to take no for an answer. So she used all her motherly emotional blackmail on him and he agreed. But the next morning he came and told her that there's no way I'm going to get married, because he said, I had a nightmare last night in which I was married and all I saw was black. And if I get married, it's going to be a disaster. And he convinced her that he shouldn't be married.
I've never felt that I could do justice to marriage, because I felt that there were so many other things in my life. There was always so much happening that I never felt that I would be able to do justice, A, to my wife, and secondly, and more importantly, to my children. I feel that too many people enter marriage without knowing what it entails, and they try and still lead the life of a bachelor, and they ruin other people's life with it.
My mother and Imran had a very special relationship. He was very close to her and a very considerate son. When she developed cancer, he was the only one who knew that she was terminally ill. He never told any of the sisters. He protected us from the information. We all saw her suffer a lot of pain before she died. But he was the one, on the day of her death, he said, I will make a cancer hospital in her memory.
I never expected the people to come forward so much and have so much sympathy for the project. The school children were incredible. They came forward, they collected something like $1 million in a space of 6 weeks. The sort of enthusiasm they came forward with touched me so deeply that made me even more determined that this hospital must become a reality. A lot of celebrities have helped me with this hospital fundraising.
think it's brilliant that he's trying to go to the international community and the international Asian community to try and raise the money.
I cannot express the great feeling of fulfillment and achievement I had when the Prime Minister came to do the stone laying of our hospital in April '91. The 1992 World Cup was in sharp contrast to the World Cup in 1987. In 1987, we started off brilliantly. We won all our initial matches. We cruised through to the semi-finals, and then we came under pressure. Pressure like the one we faced at Lahore in front of our home crowd, capacity crowd, incredible interest in the whole country, great expectations from the team. And often it happens in such situations that the pressure got to the team. And really, the team played what I would say the worst cricket they had played throughout the tournament. I mean, they just collapsed under the pressure.
Has an almighty swing and he's gone, caught behind. People caught behind and it's all over. Australia has won.
In contrast, the 1992 World Cup, we were under pressure throughout. We lost the early, even the practice matches. The game against India was particularly demoralizing.
Dad wants the run. Imran Khan is too slow off the mark. And that really was a foolish piece of cricket. They didn't need to lose the wicket at this stage. Not quite sure who's the main one to blame.
But the worst game we lost was against South Africa.
Touched and caught behind, and that's the wicket that South Africa really wanted. Imran Khan is gone, and that could well be the end of their charge. And the man out at mid-wicket is under it.
Things now falling apart for Pakistan. It was always going to be an uphill battle. It's now become an impossible target.
And really to have come back from there was perhaps, in my cricketing career, the greatest fight back. We started off winning against Australia and really had to win every game to win the World Cup. And I think that is where the character of the team came into play. And I also felt that that was where we really played like cornered tigers.
As a combination, good bowling by Aqib Javed, good captaincy by Imran Khan.
Great stuff from Pakistan.
The long off, getting under it. And Mushtaq has got that break that his captain was looking for. And that's taken. Jeffrey Marsh getting the edge to the in-swinger. So Pakistan, just when they needed wickets, have picked them up. One to the leggy and now one to the skipper.
Gone, that's it. Michael Whitney is bowled by Wasim Akram. It's all over.
Magnificent shot from Inzamam ul-Haq.
What a great delivery, and that's cut away. That is a good shot. That will probably go before it does. He hits firmly, he hits well, gets the gap, turns straight through the four.
That's it.
There it is, Mo. Is that going away for four? I think it is. And he's turns round and it's into the boundary there for four. And it is the end of the match. Pakistan have won the semi-final. And they won that by 4 wickets. The rest of the side come running on. Javed is kissing the ground. They can't believe it. So Pakistan will go to Melbourne on Wednesday to meet the winners of England against South Africa, which is played tomorrow in Sydney.
He replaces Ian Botham.
Gooch, but it's way over his head and well back into the members.
It's hit away. This could be out. No, it'll be over his head. De Freitas has come in a little bit too far, over his head and into the fence for 4. Good shot. That's his 50. And that may get to the boundary too. Lightning outfield. 88 balls for his 50.
And now Delicate once more, just past the diving, short for 4 more. And once more for the Pakistanis, Inzaman is the man.
Charge, and he hit that could go all the way. Superbly placed by Wasim Akram.
Strict Balcom is well on target.
It's gone. Pakistan crowd think it's marvellous.
That's up in the air. It's gone out towards deep square leg. There's a man underneath it. That's a brilliant catch. Akib Javed is the man who's come in from deep square leg. And he is absolutely delighted. He's going to do a lap of honour all by himself.
Score 4 for 69.
What a great delivery. Left arm round the wicket. Alan Lamb has been cleaned up. Perhaps so too England.
That's up in the air. He's getting under it. This could be victory. It is. Pakistan win the World Cup. A magnificent performance in front of 87,000 people. Imran Khan has led his side to victory. What a great victory.
Looking back at my career, I feel that God helps those who are prepared to work hard and whose intentions are clear. And I think probably that was the reason for my success. And I feel very privileged that I have been able to leave my cricketing career with a lot of pride and dignity. And it's a privilege that has often been denied to much greater sportsmen.
Just